Oh, I apologize. Roll call.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Here.
Mr. Hendricks?
Here.
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Keller?
Here.
Mrs. Dixon? Here. Mrs. Abell? Here. Mr. Crouch?
Here. All right, so first we have Trevor Olson on leadership.
Hi. Good evening, Prairie School Board. It's great to see each and every one of you this evening, and I thank you for time to allow me to speak. Leadership is defined as the ability of an individual to influence and guide members of an organization or a team. Now, let's all reflect on qualities we have seen through leaders in our life. Mr. Hendricks, during your time of service, you probably had some leaders that have influenced you. You also have probably good team managers in your businesses that influence leadership. Mrs. Allenbacher, as a business owner, you also probably reflect on how people run your business and how you run your teams within your business. Mr. Crouch, back during your sports days, how did Mr. Stromquist and Mr. Kaiser influence you as a leader? Mr. Keller, as an Eagle Scout, you've had many leaders influence you as well through your life. Mrs. Zibble, Mrs. Dixon, and Mrs. Anderson, how have leaders influenced you throughout your career and your path in life? Leaders keep a ship sailing in the right direction while they guide and complete tasks. Organizations are like a chain, only as strong as their weakest link, no matter where they rank. As a business or organization is always looked on by others on how well their leadership team is by their CEO. A school district, their CEO would be their superintendent. As you are well aware, my wife resigned from her position at Prairie School on August 13th, 2024. In her letter, she had 5 simple requests. One was a payment of her remaining PTO. 2 was a registration fee, refund on her registration fee for her 3 children, Hayden, Delaney, and Clara, along with the credit card service fees that were charged. Any lunch money left on her kids' accounts. Also a copy of her personnel file. And also to set up a time to return Hayden's Chromebook and her key file. This letter was sent to your CEO, Mr. Czizek, along with Mr. Carter, Mrs. Burke, and Mrs. Sully. It has now been 2 weeks and 1 day since Lindy has resigned, and there has not been a phone call, an email, or any form of communication. Mr. Czizek, as a leader of your group, would you think he would have reached out and completed these tasks and contacted my wife in some form or manner? He does have her phone number. He has talked to her on her phone. We, as my wife and myself, still are getting emails from the school district, so there is an email form. Okay? We did get a credit card statement on Monday, the 26th. We did get a credit back for the registration fees, but not the credit card service fees. But again, there was no communication on this from the leadership. We are still missing Clara's registration fees for preschool, along with Hayden's and Delaney's lunch money that may be left on their account. We have no way to go in and check it because we've been erased from teacher erase or something. That's something my wife takes care of. I'm just a dad. All right. Now I remind you, it's been 2 weeks and 1 day since she has resigned. There's been no attempt to get Lindsay a copy of the personnel file. Illinois state law states that an employee or an ex-employee requests a copy of the personnel file, you have 1 week to get it to them. Still, 2 weeks and 1 day. No attempt. Why is this, Mr. Czizek? Is this a reflection of your leadership skills? What other items have not been done in a timely manner by the CEO of your school district? How does it reflect the leadership that your board is in charge of? What actions are being taken to complete these items my wife requested by the school board, since the superintendent that has been paid $130,000 a year cannot manage to complete 5 simple tasks? I'm going to conclude on your school district's webpage. Under the district information page, there are 10 values listed. Number 9 is integrity. With the meaning listed next to it, responsibility of oneself, in actions, and accountability. Integrity is a key element of a superintendent of the school district, isn't it? Completing these simple tasks, where's the responsibility and accountability on this? So I'm asking the school board to help me with these matters, since they have not been done by the management team. I want, obviously, payment of her PTO, refund of Clara's $320 for preschool, any lunch money left on my children's account, and a copy of the personnel file. Also, I want it stated in the minutes I do have Hayden's Chromebook here, and I'm willing to return it this evening if my requests are taken care of. And also, we'd like to set up a time for my wife to return her key fob that was also requested in the email. No communication on that. I did not bring it tonight because I cannot touch the thing. It is your guys' property. And she wants to set up a time that doesn't interfere with her new job. Since Mr. Czizek is not responsible enough to take care of these tasks. Thank you all. I appreciate your evening.
All right, Mr. Breland, Scholastic Book Fair.
My name is Mike Breland, and I'm a parent of 4 kids in the school district. 2 weeks ago, I started a Facebook group for parents and guardians to share their experiences with their school administration here at District 133, specifically those times when parents felt ignored or brushed aside. Facebook provides a wider audience than a PSA or board meeting. It's available on demand, and you can record and archive live events such as board meetings, which will provide important details not included in the minutes, which are currently lacking. Parents can also speak up anonymously if they fear retaliation, which has already occurred to those who openly posted on Facebook, and retaliation has been online and in person. My issue brought to an admin started 3 months ago. It began with the principal, then the superintendent, and finally the school board regarding books available for purchase at the Prairie Hills Scholastic Book Fair that were not age appropriate for any child at that school. These books are mixed in with all the rest, not sectioned off, marked as mature, or out of reach for the little ones. A book I reviewed from the fair and identified to administration had the age recommendation on the cover to be 12 years and over in grades 7 to 9. I thought I made some convincing points, such as I showed how these age-inappropriate books conflict with policies in the district manual. I provided a web link to Scholastic's website where it stated the school makes the choice on which books they have at the fair. I suggested the compromise of blocking off the mature materials from the students during the day and make it available later, after school hours, or on the weekends when children will be with their parents who can supervise. None of my points were addressed, but instead the administration gave the following justifications. We don't ban books in the library, so it's the same for the book fair. We wouldn't read those books to the kids, but they can buy it at the fair. The book fair is for the whole community, including adults and older students. So we want to provide a wide variety of content. If you're not comfortable with that material, your kids can sit in the office while the rest of the class goes to the fair. And the book I identified was reviewed by the superintendent and district librarian. And they both concluded the book did not violate any law, regulation, or board policy, and hence, there's no reasonable basis to remove such content from future book fairs. Our board president stated this matter was discussed at the May board meeting 3 months ago, but the minutes don't show that occurred. So I posted this issue to the Facebook group to notify parents because our admin failed to do so. After attending the Willowbrook open house last week, I learned of a policy they have here in the library. It's called the Red Dot Book Policy, which has been in place for years, which restricts 5th and 6th graders from books that may contain material too mature for them. These books are identified with a red dot on the spine, and these younger students must have a signed permission slip from their parents to access these books. The superintendent and district librarian concluded that the book I identified, that they personally reviewed, was appropriate for elementary students. This clearly contradicts the red dot policy at Willowbrook. We know a policy such as red dot is acceptable in this district, so give parents a clear answer. What are you trying to achieve by having age-inappropriate books at the elementary book fair without parental knowledge or consent, and will this continue to occur in the future? I officially request this matter be added to the agenda for the September board meeting so the board can publicly discuss. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Breland. Aaron Von Roth, online, issues with access.
Yes, pardon me for not standing. I have some issues that will probably end me up on the floor if I stand. So, my first issue with online access I would like to reach is quite simply, it's time to move into the modern era and start putting meetings and access online. People who have physical disabilities or work schedules cannot always participate in something scheduled right at dinner time. It's hard for families. So why not just remove that problem? We have all the equipment. Everybody has all the equipment. Everybody's got a camera and a microphone in front of them or in their hands. There's literally no reason that this should not be available online. Now, the second issue that I want to talk about online is Mr. Breland's group. There is absolutely no reason that board members, staff members, and PSA members started mocking, trolling, and ridiculing the few people who were trying to have a constructive conversation in there. It not only bypassed decency, in some cases it bypassed the links of the law, and shouldn't happen. There should be no repression of speech for the adults. It is a private group. There is no public humiliation going on. And we have made every effort to keep anybody's name who doesn't need to be brought up out of it and just discuss the issues. So for grown adults to form a group, to start attacking people online for just talking about, hey, we're having some issues, it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, that being said, there are some things that are in that group that are really easy to take care of. Online meetings. It's a minimal investment. I would like to thank Mr. Carter for taking care of the parking lot issue that quickly. I have always come from the other side. I have never walked down the path, and I had no idea there was even a path there. So I kind of appreciate the new setup, and I appreciate the effort that's being done. I'm not trying to cause drama, but every time in my experience that I have tried to go through the school system with an issue, it's been met with more hostility than appropriate. It's been met with unnecessary drama rather than discussion. And that's not what we need. We need better discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Von Roth. Valerie Ballman, Jack Story Garden.
Hello. I should say I, my friend Jackie, and I presented at the last board meeting about, there's a cement space on the side of Prairie Hill School that was intended to be a memorial space for my son Jack. And the plans for that, I don't know what happened. But as a foundation, on behalf of my son, we would like to modify and enhance that space and turn it into a usable space that is deserving of his name. We presented the plans to you last week, and you mentioned some safety concerns, so I just wanted to address those issues as we have made some modifications to the plan. So we have gotten some sponsorship from Solstrom Construction. So any cement work that you've seen fit to take care of any safety concerns that you would have in that space will be taken care of by that company. And any construction that you would prefer to be done professionally would be taken care of also by that company. So we wanted to make sure that you knew that safety is holds huge importance to us, and we want it done with integrity. So we just wanted to modify that information to know that we heard what you had to say, and we want to make the modifications that you suggested.
Thank you, Ms. Ballman. Thank you, audience, for your time and the things that you presented tonight. We don't, as a format, we don't respond, so I don't want you to think that we're ignoring your statements, but as a board format, to maintain the agenda, because we post that 48 hours in advance, we will not be responding as a board. That's just a matter of policy, so I just want you to understand that, so you don't feel slighted by our lack of response. Okay. But I appreciate your time, all of you. Pride of Prairie Hill.
Yeah, Laura, you want to take this one?
Yes, so we have traditionally always done Pride of Prairie Hill to be a student or a student group. And as a board, we've decided, and also as part of our board policy, that we'd also like to recognize staff members that are Pride of Prairie Hill. And my youngest son is a student in pre-K, and I wanted to nominate them to be the pre-K teachers and the pre-K paras, to be our first recipients of the staff Pride of Prairie Hill, because of their great effort and time that they've given for their summer breaks to help the transition from our young pre-K students into becoming a student at Prairie Hill. And if I didn't have a child in pre-K, I would have no idea of these events that they're doing throughout the summer, so I want to make sure the board knows about it and the public knows about it. They held 3 events. One was a library story hour at the North Suburban Library District in June, and that was very well attended. And they did stories and songs and crafts, and all the students got to meet their teachers, meet some of their future classmates, and it was a great kind of first introduction. The second was in July, and that was a dairy house and playground play date at the Brockton Park by the Brockton Pool there. And again, very well attended, another opportunity for those young students to meet teachers' faces and get to know some of their classmates. And then the last one was the school supply drop-off right before school started in August, and then playing on the playground there, which kind of got rained out a little bit because pre-Kers didn't seem to mind at all playing in the rain. And all of that was outside of their contract time. It's in their summer break. They did not have to do that. A lot of the paras came as well. And as you know, like that first introduction to school that young 3- and 4-year-olds have is so crucial that it's positive, it's a smooth experience, and these teachers just go above and beyond, not only introducing the students to school, but introducing our students to Prairie Hill School District, where we have such a caring and dedicated staff that goes beyond the norm to make our students' needs met, felt loved and cared for before the first day of school. So, with that being said, we'd like to congratulate and honor and thank our pre-K school teachers and paras that could be here tonight. I think we have some certificates for them, if Josh would like to present them. We have.
Don't see them. All right, so Amanda Werner is not here, but want to recognize Amanda Werner as one of the recipients. Aaron Gissel. Congratulations. And Danielle Peterson. We can get some photos afterwards or in our break here.
And one more thing about the Pride of Prairie Hill too, again, I knew about the dedication of these pre-K teachers because my son is in pre-K, so I saw all of these events. And I think that we should develop, I don't know, like a Google form or something on our website or something where parents can nominate teachers because we don't know what other classroom teachers are doing and other amazing things that are going on. So some way for other teachers to nominate or parents to nominate to help us determine future Pride of Prairie Hill. So maybe we could add something like that.
Yeah.
Website. Okay.
Ed?
Yeah.
Maybe Ed, Mr. Yearly Ed committee meeting, maybe that's something we can attack. All right, consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion. Does anyone have a chance to review last month's meeting agenda? Meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Mrs. Zabel?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
All right, administrator reports. Mr. Carter.
All right, thank you. And thank you for all of the Prairie Hill representatives here. Just finished my 6th day of school. It's been great.
Hot.
It's been hot. Kids were good. Everybody was great. I've just been really thrilled with, as I've come in over this month or so, the students when they came in on day one, the staff when I came in on day one, the families have all been very supportive. So I just wanted to thank everybody. The board's been supportive. Just been, anybody's been just just been helping me out if ever I have a question about what's going on or things, and people have been very patient with everything, and it was really great to see the kids coming in on the first day of school and just getting back into the routine of playing with friends again. Big thing that was happening in the building, we got some physical updates in the building, so thanks to the board and to PSA for helping out in the office area. If you hadn't had a chance to look at it, it is very nice and great place for staff to have their lunch and their workspaces updated, so very excited. We did have a decent turnout for popsicles with the principal. I think I met between 75 and 100 students over the course of the 3 days. We had good weather. It's nice to see some of the families. We just started back up the birthday wall, so students are being called down to the office on their birthday, and I have a chalkboard wall on my office, and they get to write their name on their birthday, so I'll have a nice collage by the end of the year. And also we're getting ready, I'm sure you've seen the advertisement coming out today, but our back to school barbecue is Friday night, and I am going first in the dunk tank. So support the barbecue. Hope to see you there. That's fine. Weather should be good, I win.
All right. Mrs. Thompson, Philbrook.
All right, well, as Craig mentioned, we have definitely started off the year with a bang. It's always a bustling environment here at the middle school because we move frequently throughout the day. And so we did this year have 2 separate back to school nights, which I think was really nice. We had our 5th graders come alone. And since they're new to the building and new to the schedule, it just kind of gave them time to not feel like so much pressure with all the other kids floating and moving around. We did a little presentation in the beginning, kind of give them some hot tips and topics that they might want to look at or pay attention to as they come into the year. Biggest thing on 5th grade back to school night and also the first week of 5th grade back to school is the locker. But I will tell you that they are getting better each and every day, and I think that is attributed to that alone time and that first 5th grade back to school night being here alone. We also did a 6th through 8th back to school night where they get to come in. Everybody walks their schedules, drops off supplies, sees teachers. For the 6th through 8th graders, I would say it's definitely much more social. Like they like to just see their peers and kind of be like, oh yeah, here's my stuff, it's in my locker. But they like to be, it's nice to have everybody back in the building and feeling that positive buzz for sure. So both of those things went really, really well. It was also nice because we offered for 5th grade to come back the 6th through 8th night to just practice their combinations if they just wanted to stand and like practice, because that's always a big, when some of us who might be a little bit older went to school, we like the click up locker, and these are really different where they have like a grinding kind of feel that takes a minute to get used to get it to pop open. So we did have some families take us up on that, which was cool. I would like to just kind of note too, I think, and Craig mentioned it a little bit, we have an amazing custodial team who made it so our buildings were ready to come back to school, and I think that they don't necessarily always, they're not the face, right? They're definitely behind the scenes, but the reason that we have such a wonderful schools to go to and have our kids at is because of all the hard work that they do and put in over the summer. So shout out to them. We did kick off volleyball season, and they had tryouts first night of school, I believe, and they are already at their first game. That's actually where Amanda Werner is tonight. They are playing Stephen Mack, so that's always exciting to watch them. They typically play 2 games a week if you want to come out and see them at any time. Soccer tryouts started tonight. They were supposed to be Monday, Tuesday, but because of the crazy heat that we had, we felt like that wasn't a great idea to be out in the middle of the field running around for hours on a 100-degree day. So they're doing that right now. The other thing I just wanted to mention is this year in our Willowbrook schedule, things are a little different because we brought back a second elective period. So in the past, for those of you who don't know, students had to choose between band and choir or other electives like art and tech and different things like that. And so it's always hard because kids at the middle school age really want to decide who they are and what they like, and they want to try everything. And when you limit that, it makes it hard for them to have those experiences. So we did keep it for 1 elective at 5th grade just because they're getting used to the building, but they will have other opportunities 6th through 8th. But 6th through 8th graders have a variety of electives where they can choose not only band and choir, but they can do art, they can do 3D art. We have life skills, cultural appreciation, we have geography, we have social media, music production, which is where they're using their Chromebooks to actually make music. Life skills, I have two of my elective teachers actually here tonight, I call them out. So Paige does life skills where she's teaching kids in 6th grade how to just do different quirky things in life, like how to make a to-do list, how to manage time, how to make pancakes if they wanted to. She's gonna try to grab in some outside speakers to come in and talk about their, things that they do in the real world, just to give them some insight. And Sarah Arnsmeyer does our cultural appreciation class, where kids get to learn about different cultures that they're not really exposed to here where we are, all around the world. And so I've already had actually parents reach out and kids tell me how much they really enjoy just being able to kind of dive in and do these different things throughout the year because they haven't had that opportunity in a while. So shout out to my elective teachers because they definitely, some of them were put on the spot and I said, what do you think would be great? What do you think kids would love? Talked to some kids about what they would love and they all came up with something that's up their alley but also really cool for kids. So it's new, they've added it. They're not just elective teachers. Typically they are also teaching, like the two that were here tonight, they teach science, but they teach usually social studies, science, English, literature, and they're taking on this additional class to be able to do that. So it's really cool to see the kids energized and passionate about something that's new because we work really hard to make them still love coming to school in middle school. So that's it.
I will chime in. One of my daughters is in music production. Thanks. I got to listen to 2 hours of songs she made yesterday. It kind of reminds me of when they brought the kazoos home in high school.
So maybe a quarter class, I think.
It is her favorite class, though. She absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
Loves them.
Mr. Czizek, district updates.
Yeah, just a few things to echo what Craig and Jackie said. Great start to the school year. First 3 institute days were super productive from a district level and from a building level, so very appreciative of the board allowing us to have those 3 days. I think the staff also appreciative as well to get all the things done that need to get done. So allows us to put us in a really good place for starting. So as Craig mentioned, Prairie Hill office renovation is definitely fully functional. We're just kind of getting the finishing touches on there. So right up to the wire, obviously, but a definite facelift that we all love to see. Reminder that we'll do the budget hearing in September. Let's go over numbers there with local, state, and federal money. The district communicator that Steph made the platform for, that'll be going out in the next couple of days, so I've been working on that, so that should be fun. And then, we can add more things as we go, because it'll be fluid, because it'll be on the website, so that'll be cool. Letting you know, there's the first regional superintendent meeting this Friday, so that's typically a time where we find out what's going on at the state and local level, so anything of note, I'll make sure I communicate with that in September. And other than that, that's about it right now. So good start to the school year.
Great, thank you.
I have a quick question for Mr. Carter. How are, I know the last meeting we talked to you were low on teacher recess aides. How's recess been going?
I haven't had any applicants yet, but since I'm out there, and we've got some other adults, we have some paras helping out there. We could always use more. Just right now, the attendance is good with all of the staff. It's just nice to have dedicated people for that. But anybody wants to come out for a couple hours and watch some kindergarten and first graders have some fun, it's a good time. I enjoy it.
Just so you know, Lori, myself, and Kim Andrews are running a table for this Friday for the barbecue, where we will be trying to gather support for subs and recess aides. So
You're gonna sing a song and dance at the table, I can do that.
I'm there the whole time. I'm like, I will be, everyone will come by and they'll at least hear the pitch. So. Okay,
Practice in the mirror before you go.
cool.
All right, good. All right, building and finance, we'll go through our committee reports. Building and finance met on August 21st. Mr. Crouch, you want to take it?
Yeah, Tina, do you want to start?
Sure. Of course, my notes are on my desk at work. We went over all of the bills for the month of July. We talked about the upgrades to Prairie Hill, the renovations going on. We're on schedule, on budget. Some personnel issues, filling the para spots, recess aides. Talked about the audit, year-end audit. Budget's coming up, as you mentioned. Pretty light agenda.
as well as water heater.
Yes, the water
Researching
heater,
water
yes,
heater as
yes.
far as confirming if we use the tank versus tankless.
I learned all sorts of things about water heaters.
Yeah.
Thanks to Jim.
And then also discussion about the walkway at Prairie Hill and how we effectively transport students from the building through the parking lot who are walkers to the adjacent neighborhood while maintaining traffic flow, but most importantly, maintaining the safety of our students. So you'll see, I'm sure you've seen some, you may have seen Mr. Carter and I out there in our shiny yellow vests yesterday in the heat, but some changes that you'll see, but again, trying to just adapt that as best we can for the safety of the students and maintain traffic flow.
I do just want to, regarding the parking lot, I haven't got an update personally on all that, I just know what's in the drive, but we have education and transportation meeting next month, so I'm hoping at that point Craig can give us an update on the changes that have made, where the improvements are, what are we seeing that's good, what do we keep working on, just, your point of view. And I did mention to Clint as well that I'd be willing to come out there and stay on a day as well, and if the other education transportation members, wanted to do it on different days, or however it fit anyone's schedule.
I live it every day.
Well, yeah, you're already there. I'm not there anymore, so it's very bizarre. But yeah, so education and transportation too, we'll continue the conversation next month as
And
well.
I did a civil site plan showing traffic flow. Craig and I met on, was it Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday? Monday. All the days were together. We met on Monday, we went through that. I did a civil site plan that shows traffic flow as well as crosswalks. We've added safety vests to the crossing guards to just kind of heighten visibility. But we can go through that and I'll provide that for transportation education too, so you can see what that site plan is and pick all the holes you want in it, because ultimately we want to put all of our minds together to.
Yeah, work in
I
progress.
also
for sure.
have reached out, I had a meeting with Winnebago County Police while we were out there, walked through that site to make sure that we weren't missing anything from a safety standpoint, ingress, egress. And then also have engaged a civil engineering firm to look at that and see if there's anything that we're missing from a traffic flow.
Okay, perfect, super good to know. And
Trying
hopefully-
to check.
Yeah,
all the
exactly. And
boxes.
When we get all those details, that transportation will be greatly appreciated as well.
Perfect.
Can I added it to this agenda so that we make sure it's added to the September agenda? And I did see the quotes in the folder regarding the hot water heater, and I don't necessarily need the details now because I know that's also still a work in progress, but are those new quotes from last month, or do we just move the Helm and the Miller?
There's some that are new and there's some that were
Okay.
in the spring, yeah.
Okay.
I did also send the capital map, the heat map. I don't know if you had a chance to look that over or not. The color-coded
Yeah, I
long-term
glanced at it.
capital
I haven't
budgeting
been
we
able to
talked
get
about.
into it yet, but yeah.
And then I emailed Rachel about monthly budget to actual reports, have not heard back yet.
Okay.
I've emailed her twice, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay.
She's
Was-
still around? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was the decision, or is the decision still being made to remove the old one? That was what we talked about last month, or just keeping it there and then using the tankless, like, was that a part of this? I saw a proposal for like just plumbing and then like a demo, and I didn't know.
So the original design, the original design of both Willowbrook and Prairie Hill, we had showers. We all kind of probably grew up taking a shower at recess. That obviously has gone away. However, the plumbing system is designed still for that, so we're over-designed. So what's happening is with the tank system and the size of these tanks, we're spending overhead dollars, we're spending taxpayer dollars on heating this water that's not being used on a regular basis. So we've reevaluated our fixture count of use, and then what we actually need for a tank, and then if we were to go tankless. So we're kind of just doing a cost comparison and an efficiency study on what is the best option for the school.
Okay, cool.
And we did a similar thing here with the water system that's here at Willowbrook.
And then just a quick question, do you guys, use an agenda in your,
Finance?
finance?
Yep,
meetings?
it's in the
It's
finance
in
meeting
there?
folder.
Why can't I
Yep.
find it?
I think it's like the 4th or 5th slide, if you get past all the bills of the month, and it lists
Oh, there it is. Okay,
time,
cool.
attendees, and everything
Thank
we
you.
covered, yep. Okay, if that's good for building and finance, we'll move on to education and transportation.
Sure. So So education met on August 15th, and the principals joined us this time, just because, you know, it's getting ready for the start of the new school year. We discussed looking at creating like a webpage, which Stephanie did today, that hasn't gone live yet, but it will be on our main webpage that has all of those teacher discounts that we're still getting new ones at all times, so it's another great thing that we can constantly add to it. So we're excited to share that with staff soon. We discussed the equity committee that is through a committee that will have Prairie Hill teachers, Willowbrook teachers, stakeholders, some board members. Stephanie will be on it for sure. And then Clint said that we could have a second board member as well. I'd be happy to be on it, but I didn't want to take that spot and having two people from education and transportation claim it before it was opened up to everyone else. So I think Clint will send out an email just seeing if anyone else is interested in being on that equity committee.
Is that restricted to 2 board members then?
No, it could be 2 to 3.
There
Like
will be
our typical
open
committee
meetings.
meetings, yeah.
They'll follow open meetings, so it's not like
Sure.
people are, you know, doing anything. So it can be more, but we thought 2 would be a good number to have like a good,
Sure.
2 or more would be a great number.
Okay.
So look for that from Clint. And then the principals gave us some updates about the schedule and changes in the workroom construction project and how that was going, the popsicle event. We kind of discussed the tricky time of it being in the afternoon for parents and families that couldn't make their due to work schedules. So looking at just keeping that in mind for future events, having some things in the evenings to make it, or you know, maybe one in the afternoon, one in the evening, something like that to try to increase the number of students that could come to events like that. And also, sorry, my computer's going very slowly. Talked about the Pride of Prairie Hill and the format of having a student or a student group, the goal to have a student or student group recognized for Pride of Prairie Hill every month and a staff member. And I think that is pretty much it. Do you have anything else, Stephanie, or?
The only other thing we talked about was the table for the barbecue.
Yes. Yep.
And then we discussed we asked the principals to start thinking about a potential next initiative for the education committee. Because we really liked the way that we structured our education committee last year, where we were focusing on like larger initiatives that felt like we were able to make a greater impact in certain areas. And so just looking to you guys if there is any support or anything that you need, we'll wait to hear from you guys.
Thank you. Policy.
Policy, okay, we have our final reading tonight, but we are spending we spent a lot of time, and we have, I think we have, what, 80 line items to go? Well, no, we did maybe 10. But essentially, we have just our typical work that we go through section by section every year for our policies, but something that we wanted to take a closer look at was our administrative procedures. So every policy that's out, not every policy, but a lot of policies that are out come with a partner administrative procedure, which is just like the protocol, the steps you would take for this specific policy, and it just helps guide the installment of that policy. And there's a lot of them that we are provided with, so we have been, or we started this last week, slowly going through and reviewing all the administrative procedures and seeing if we already have one in place, that actually it's a little bit more in-depth or more detailed and we want to follow that path, or if we don't yet have a procedure that we utilize. And some of them are very small use cases, like a specific type of move mid-year, how would you handle a student transfer? And so they probably would happen once every 5 years. So we wouldn't write our own administrative procedure, we would follow what the state guidance is. So we're just going through each one of those, and like I said, I think there's about 80 of them, so we got a little bit done. We got a lot more to go. But at the end of it, the goal is so that the administration has like all the tools they need if they encounter any situation with students or parents or the community, that we have a strong procedure and protocol in place should anything happen, good, bad, just any arises, that they have the tools they need to quickly be able to handle it. So we want to make sure that we have really reviewed that, so. Yeah, so we will be giving that update probably for the next couple months. I think it'll take a little bit of time. Anything else?
All right, thank you very much. FOIA requests. We had 3 FOIA requests this past month, all 3 from the Rockford Sun. One was a list of all staff, names, titles, and salaries. Second was new staff and retiring staff. The third was a list of all available activities and clubs on the sponsor's name and the sponsor's name for each.
Staff, did we need to approve your policies? Do you see on the agenda?
Oh, yeah, we have final, what do we?
Oh,
We have our final reading,
Yep.
yeah.
So we'll do a motion to approve policies as presented on the final readings, which are all listed in your agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve final reading for those policies.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Longbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. LaBeouf?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Okay, next, we're going to discuss live streaming of board meetings and how we might be able to address that concern as it relates to the public in our community.
So we talked about this a couple years ago when I first joined the board. It was something I was really pushing for actually, because I was a parent that really enjoyed being a part of things, but I also couldn't get here in time. And I remember we did a lot of investigating, because we couldn't utilize just like a Zoom tool, because then you're required to have a monitor or a moderator. So I remember that we had gone down that path, and totally open to it, but I'm trying to remember the cost. There was a technology cost that was pretty expensive, because we aren't currently set up to do microphones and the equipment that we had. So I don't know if that's changed. But I do remember we discussed it at length and determined for the cost, it wasn't worth, we did not actually have, I think I was the only parent that then became a board member that was I'd really like to offer that, but it wasn't a need that the community was asking for, so it felt like an investment that wasn't
So
worth putting the money into at that time.
this is something we've been researching since it's come back up.
Yep.
And just finding out kind of what we need to do, what we're required to do, what we can do. We are not required as a board to do that. However, it is something that we're hearing from the community, so we're taking into consideration.
Yeah.
I think the next steps are going to be to research currently what our platform options are,
Yep.
come up with some costs. Perhaps between our committees, we can kind of divide and conquer. Obviously, finance could review where we're at from a cost standpoint, and perhaps we can, whether it be education or it be policy, maybe we can work on what the different platforms are. Tech is not my sweet spot, but I think that it's worth researching to find out what our options are. That being said, it is available, as Mr. Breland has come tonight, to live stream the board meeting. You, as a community, do have the right to do that. As I stated before, the only thing that we ask is that you maintain your video and audio recording to just board and administrators, as we do not have the consent of the audience. So that's just out of respect for you as a community. So if you plan on being here, and perhaps as a community until we get something established as a board or get through our process, you're more than welcome to come and do that.
Just to piggyback off what Steph said from a historical perspective and what we've done in the past and what we've looked into. Some of us on the board went through the COVID days where we did live stream from our houses, the board meetings, and that was required at the time, but isn't any longer. And then we did go down the path of discussing it just because it was something we were interested potentially in talking about. And just my personal, you know, position on it then was, if we're gonna do it, I wanna do it well. Because, like, I mean, I was literally in a meeting this week that was, you know, a
Wah,
Zoom,
wah,
like,
wah, 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 wah.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you, exactly. And I was like, it was very frustrating because this human was like 20 minutes away. I would much rather, for my business purposes, I'd rather just drive and have a good face-to-face, like, personal meeting, like, I'm old school that way. So when we talked about doing it, I didn't want to hear the feedback being that they couldn't hear us, they couldn't see us. It was,
Well, we tested it.
And yeah.
We set up a Zoom and we tested it, and it
Yeah.
was terrible.
yeah,
that's
so
when
at
we
that
went to the
time,
technology
you know,
back.
Tina did tell us what the Rockford University
Yep.
uses.
The owl.
And,
Owl.
Yowl, which was
Owl,
That's
so,
right.
yes, so
Right.
it was so cool
It's
sounding.
the little thing in the middle that
That
whenever you
turns
talk, it
and
turns.
turns.
And it's kind
Yeah.
of creepy, but it works pretty
Yeah.
well.
But it was a significant cost.
Yeah.
And without, you know, without getting, you know, without us having a lot of ask from the community for it, you know, and the cost at the time, it just, you know, I would say it just, ultimately just, we didn't make a final decision. But, I mean, I think revisiting it is always an option.
Yeah, because there might be a world that technology is cheaper now,
Cheaper or more options?
more
I
options.
can
for sure.
ask my tech guys at work what they
That would be great.
recommend. I mean, our board room is the size of this entire library, so, because we have 25 board members and they're all scattered, so we require something much, much larger. I'm
Mhm.
sure there's something smaller scale that we could look at that's more reasonable cost. So I can ask our IT department.
Yeah, I also want to make sure that we review with legal counsel on what our availability is specifically on the community presentation portion. If, you know, do we need to have a separate consent signed on the, you know, for community members that want to speak? Because obviously if that's going to be a portion of the board meeting and we're going to record what's stated and who was talking, it would be nice to have that as a portion of it. However, we're back into that realm of respecting everyone's individual rights. So perhaps if we can figure out how that needs to be handled, you know, if you're gonna come and attend a board meeting, whether you sign or maybe we have a separate section outside of the view of the camera. You know, I'm sure there's ways that we can navigate around that, but wanna make sure we're respectful of not only us, but the community as well.
I was just gonna ask that too in regards to the Pride of Prairie Health, especially when we're recognizing students.
Right.
That might not wanna be live streamed, but we
Yep.
understand, but we
Yep.
don't wanna not recognize them then, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, we wanna make sure we do it
Correctly,
correctly.
yes.
Yep.
There's also the option, instead of live streaming, just recording it and posting it on our webpage, so people can watch it at their leisure. It doesn't have to be live.
True.
That's still, we still have to, with the amount of students that come from Pride of Prairie Health, that would just have to be a consent
Sure.
component. But, yeah, we would have to just make sure that we're, yep, well,
Right.
which is hiring a cost, so we'll have to leave it out.
Should this be something we add to the policy, since it's kind of board policy stuff? How do we conduct our meetings or business?
I think you just volunteered for it.
The other thing we want to know is, something that we came up against last time, and I'll note it in our policy.
My laptop died, so if you
Okay.
could add that.
I'll add
Sorry,
it.
that'd be great.
Is, if we did live stream, we needed a moderator, and that was also an additional, either an ask for like volunteer consistently, or a paid thing. So that was one thing that we have to also, if we do like there's a speaking component, then there has to be someone like actually monitoring it. So just an additional thought to like potential cost.
So why don't we set some action items for next month? Maybe policy committee can do some research and make that part of your agenda next month on what platforms, with the goal of presenting what platforms in what, let's say, what's a good time frame for October or November's meeting for finance committee to review?
Let's do, October.
Okay.
I'd like to get a good handle on those APs.
Sure.
Since that'll directly impact like, the school. So if you're okay with that, I'd like to stay focused on the APs and then we'll
Okay.
October.
Anybody have anything else as it relates to live stream and broadcasting of board meetings? All right. I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
For the purpose of.
So the purpose of, I apologize, employment matters to discuss appointment, employment compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Motion by Tina, seconded by Jason Crouch.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. LaBelle?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Audience, we just ask that you would depart here. We can send someone out to get you as soon as we're done with the executive session. You're welcome to come back in. So back into open session. I will entertain a motion to approve the personnel report.
So moved.
Second?
Like, do you want to just touch on what?
Yep, Prairie Hill resignation, a paraprofessional at Prairie Hill, a night custodian at Prairie Hill, an intramural advisor, and a newspaper advisor.
Mrs. Allenbacher?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. LaBelle?
Yes.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks?
Yes. Okay, Jason, did you want to have any further conversation before we entertain a motion on the
Yeah,
signage?
like I said in an email to you, there's some things we need to look at through finance before we,
Okay.
outlay any funds
So
like
we want to
this.
table this, okay?
Yep.
So we're going to table the motion to approve the purchase of a digital sign for Willowbrook, which we found out recently is going to be paid for half of that by PSA. We're going to review that a little bit more in detail and compare that to where our overall budget is for the school and ensure that we're spending funds appropriately and that it's available.
Was this going to replace the sign out the road or out here? The one that we manually put those letters on?
Manual.
To replace that one that we manually put the letters on, we actually don't own the stuff out by the street. So we aren't necessarily allowed to, I think there's probably some things we could do, but we're gonna start with this one and then hopefully update something out there, but this company is actually able to use all the electrical, actual existing thing that is there, but also update it and make it new and digital. So
We do
don't
have a meter,
manual
we do have a
letters.
meter and electricity out at all the way to the road though, correct?
We
Yeah.
do, but we're
There is
not,
power
it's
out
not
there,
our,
Not our land.
We just
Not
have an
our
easement,
land.
correct? We have an easement?
Yeah,
Mhm.
utility easement.
Okay. When you, the sign, like what, whatever documentation you have on it regarding the renderings or, dimensions or anything, can that be put in the drive for us to
I
ask
threw a
questions?
folder in there, yeah.
It wasn't in building finance.
It is in just the basic school sign quotes,
Oh, yeah.
so. You'll have time to look it over, obviously, for table until Saturday.
And one other thing, just to tack on to that, because I know you were at the PSA meeting, Clint, when they were discussing how they had approved this, paying the 50% of the sign, and then they were holding off on any of the other requisitions until after jog time and their funds were back to what they normally are. And then Kelly Weber said when our kids were leaving, she said, that PSA was flexible on those other items from the chairs and the teacher's lounge and the other signs. If there was more of a need to do that before Prairie Hill, before Jogathon, that PSA would be fine using that 10,000 that they've already set aside for the sign. If those bills need to get paid first, and then do the sign after Jogathon. So whatever order we wanna do things, if that makes sense, they are flexible with that because they've already set aside that amount for the district. And it's just up to us how we want to prioritize what gets before Jogathon and what's after Jogathon.
All right, so with us tabling that, next Board of Education meeting will be Wednesday, September 18th at 5:30 PM. It'll be right here at Willowbrook Middle School in the library. Outside of that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.